All right. I'm the host to the thing, or do I start it?
We're live.
Oh, so
Assalamu alaikum,
welcome,
everyone.
Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. So we are here again another day with the Black Muslim Authors Conference. I am so excited because today we are here to discuss some steamy stuff. Our panel is called Steam and Deen. This is our romance panel. So sit back and enjoy. But I would like to say that I Enzima is here with a beautiful group of sisters and brothers, and our moderator today is Unjiaria. I would like to give thanks to our sponsors. Our sponsor is the NBA Muslims Creating an Islamic America Culture, Muslim Girls Read, Every Kind of Lady, and her sisters' pages. And we have About Islam. Thank you, About Islam. You are our host, and we are so appreciative of you. And we have Muslim Anti-Racism Collaborative, Halt Hijab, Heart Women and Girls, Daybreak Press, African American Muslim Alliance of Tampa Bay, the Muslim Connection, and yeah, and I think that I will
Daybreak
be
Press.
Daybreak Press.
Daybreak
Okay.
Press.
Daybreak Press. We couldn't I'm sorry. But anyways, um Layla Polos is one of the founders of the Black Muslim Authors Conference, as well as Area. And I am one of the organizers helping to support this effort. I'm excited. Again, we're here with a Steam and Deem romance panel. Okay, so I wore my red to try to, be festive and steamy with my red, but wait till y'all hear some words from the panelists. They're gonna knock it out. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this over to Sister Area, who will be our moderator for today. Now, let me tell you about Sister Area. She's a co-founder of the Muslim Girls Read Inc., a nonprofit literacy initiative, author of 6 books, co-editor of Black Muslim Read, and public school educator who was born and raised Muslim. How about that? How about that? Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Salam alaikum to all the panelists, and salam alaikum to everyone who is viewing at home or on your computers or on your phones. Thank you for joining us again for our Thursday brunch, Steam and Dean. So we have an illustrious group of authors with us today who represent a really unknown and uncharted genre within the Muslim literacy canon. And so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists to you today that we are very lucky to have, alhamdulillah, starting with Sister Seyna Rytes. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Seyna Rytes. Sister Seyna Rytes is coming. Sister Seyna Rytes is hailing from Cali, and she is a romance author of many books, including 7 Days to Love. Next up, we have on the panel a big welcome to Brother Nasheed Jaxson. Assalamu alaikum. He is hailing from he wants to say Atlanta. Is that right? Atlanta. Atlanta. We don't say the T. Atlanta, ATL. And he is a romance author of many books, including the newest release, Her Justice 2, TOO. Next up on this panel is Sister Sara Allen. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Sara.
Alaikum salam.
And Sister Sara is with us all the way across the pond in the UK. She is a romance author of the Man in Chains series, alhamdulillah. And last but not least, my partner, Sister Layla Abdullah-Poulos. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sister Layla is from the Strong Island, Long Island, New York, and of course is an author and editor of many books, including our book, Black Muslim Reads, and building on broken dreams. We are here with a great group of people, and we're going to jump right into this theme. And Deen, the first thing that we have to do, because we're talking about our theme, which is get into that theme, Black on both sides. What does that mean to you, especially as a Black Muslim author of romance, Brother Nasheed?
Black on both sides. I'm a Black. To me, it means I'm a Black Muslim. And I think, I'm a Black Muslim. My background is, well, when you look at a Black Muslim here in America, their background is the Nation of Islam, and then becoming, Al-Islam, what Malcolm X did. So that's my history on the Muslim side. But I'm also Black, meaning I have to dig into my culture. I can't forget about my cultural rights as a Black person here in America. It's not, Black on both sides. So that's what it means to me. It means I'm Black Muslim and I'm also Black.
Sister Sara, your perspective coming from the UK, the Black on both sides, what does that mean to you as an author?
I think that we, as Black Muslims, have to focus on the part of ourselves that is most important. That is our Blackness. That is the culture that we are trying to preserve for ourselves. That's it, basically. I mean, I could go on, but I think we, as Muslims, when we think about Muslims, especially here in the UK, we have a lot of East Africa, Somalians and Eritreans who are culturally long-standing Muslims, and we are often mistaken for being from that race or from that culture. So that's difficult. And then our being West Indian, being a Riva as well, that is, it becomes difficult because in the West Indian society, you're not, oh, how can you be Muslim? They don't like Black people. Arabs don't like Black people. Indians don't like Black people. So, you have to fight against that as well. So it's trying to kind of balance the two parts of yourselves to make it one.
Mm-hmm. Well said. And Sister Seyna, what do you think about that question, being Black on both sides as a Muslim author?
If you hear me speak, you can tell I'm not African American. I grew up in Senegal, in West Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up with what I knew of Islam being a country of Black people, 90% Muslim. And it's when I moved to Europe, first I lived in France for about 14 years, then to the US, that I started identifying as Black on both sides. So this really speaks to me because that's where I started being more involved with a large Arab community, or in general Eastern. And yes, it was more singular. It was a different experience than back home, where it was just me.
Alhamdulillah. All right, and Sister Layla.
Black on both sides. Okay. Well, for many years I've been working in culture, and for me, it is a matter of my own personal experiences and also the experiences of Black Muslims that I see. And it is just really, there's this strong alienation between faith and race that's promoted in many Muslim cultures. And I think that, what Sister Seyna said is a perfect example. Like when she grew up, there was no distinction between Blackness and Muslimness. And unfortunately, that was not the experience for many Muslims in the U.S. and the UK who were told that you cannot be Black, you cannot be Muslim. And So all of the things that are so intrinsically a part of our experience and who we are as far as our faith, we have to kind of go back and forth between. And so it's great to be able to have have opportunities to bring cohesiveness, because it is something that is possible, because there's millions of Black Muslims in Africa, in countries in Africa, who don't see that distinction. It's just one thing, Black and Muslim, that's it. So that's a really great thing, because when it comes to things, aspects of our lives, including romance, how we find each other, how we fall in love, how we maintain that love can be very, very culturally distinctive, not only because of our Muslimness, but because of our Blackness as well. And so it's really great to have the opportunity to really see that, and to bring more cohesion to that, to that.
I think that's a great segue into our next question, which is, why did you choose romance? Why did you choose romance? It's not historically a subject that Muslims talk openly about. And there is a lot of taboo around it, I would say, talking about romance and love and steam, let's put it, quote unquote, steam. So
steam. Well, actually, that is just a recent phenomenon. When you look at Islamic history, Islamic cultural history, there's a rich erotic literary history in Muslim cultures from way back when. I mean, even like Muslim scholarship, there's a whole branch of Muslim scholarship that focus on sensuality and sex and love. It's called erotology, ilmul bah. Okay, and so scholars wrote about it in an instructional way. They also promoted poets and authors who wrote more erotic content, and there were some scholars that wrote erotic content in their books as well. And so there is a rich tradition of that. But and you're absolutely right. It's a recent phenomenon that Muslims have become so puritanical and have compartmentalized and removed the divine aspects of love and sensuality, and made them seem like there's something that they're not, made them seem dirty, made them seem something like that you don't talk about or anything like that. And true piety is frigidity. And that is far from the truth Islamically. And so, that's one of the reasons why I chose romance. Romance is something that I've been reading forever. And my scholarship actually, my master's thesis focused on Muslim romance authors, because they were out there, Black Muslim romance authors in particular. Typical with Black authors, Black Muslim romance authors started to develop the content and started to develop these books of romance. And actually, romance chose Nasheed. Because
I was so waiting for my time to answer this question.
Okay, I'll let you answer the question, but that romance chose you.
Throw it over to him. What do you say, Mr. Jackson?
I didn't choose to write romance. Like, I really didn't. What I wanted to do was just write a story. And I've always noticed that any story is always about love. If you go to that story 300, that movie 300, to me, it's a love story. Mm-hmm. Even though there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of crime, it's a love story. Every story, Matrix, ends up being a love story. I mean, that's the part of the story that really connects with you. So that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to tell a story, and it just happened to, be a love story. Love stories, sorry, be a bunch of love stories that I'm telling. But I enjoy it though, because that's a part of our life. Mm-hmm. Without romance or love, who are we? You know what I'm saying? Who are we? We're just living. Yeah. We need that part of that sensual part of our lives. Even if it's just reading fiction, we need that in our lives to make us feel connected to the rest of it. So I'm a romance writer, and I'm proud to be one, because it chose me.
Sister Seyna?
Romance. Yeah, like Layla said, fell into it from a pretty young age, at the age where I wasn't supposed to be reading it, but it was pretty
Yep,
innocent. And
yep, me too.
You wasn't supposed to be reading it.
oh,
Ooh.
No, we weren't supposed to be reading
I've
those
been in
books.
trouble so many times. Those old Barbara Cartland, the Harlequins. So it was pretty PG. But it's yeah, it's one. It's really a part of life and of relationships in general and of our humanity. And two, I think with age and maturity, I've had more and more this
Mm,
realization that these stories help people. Women go through impossible times when you can't talk to anyone about what you're going through, or life is so tough, and just a variety of things. And these are just little snippets of feel good moments. And like that part, that realization is what I think led me to, okay, try to put my stories out there.
Inspiration, right? Every story is inspiration, even the tough stories. So of course, romance can also be inspiration. Sister Sarah, what do you think about that? Why did you choose romance?
Well, I never actually thought that I would ever write romance. I was always a big sci-fi, fantasy reader, horror, anything but romance.
Oh,
And then I started reading a lot of urban romance and IR and things like that. And it was like, this is it. This is the thing that I want to be involved in. That my own experiences, that I can talk about my own experiences in relationships and things like that. So when I started writing, it was just purely romance, just purely the connection. And then as the years have gone by, I'm kind of shifting away from just that pure desire to bringing other elements into my romance stories. So that's it for me. But like
but that's important.
Layla said,
That's a very important thing, though, because the genre itself, there's a lot of misconceptions about romance. First of all, that it's smut, which is like ridiculous. I mean, it can get pretty. The authors can go down roads that even I wouldn't venture. Let's say that, especially now when you have like modern, like when you have like, because there are all these subgenres, and just like Nasheed said, you see love stories consistently throughout genres. And as a matter of fact, the majority of genres in the books, there has to be some, either a all-out love story element in it, in a subplot, or some kind of a sexual tension between main characters or something like that. And it could be a mystery, and it could be a suspense and everything. So just like that happens in romance, the center is the actual falling in love of the two main characters, or the maintaining of the love of the two main characters. But we can pick and choose from any genre we want. So we can have romantic suspense. We can have paranormal, like you have that book Cyborg. Okay, yeah. We can have sci-fi, and we could focus on different events in life. So like one of the big things that happens is like there are seasonal romances. So like Valentine's Day, today's Valentine's Day. So romance authors are pumping out their Valentine's Day romance. And Seyna, you have one, right? And so that becomes, that's one of the amiable parts about romance, is that you can inject so much into it. It could be urban fiction, that's a big thing now. It's just like you have like these urban romances that utilize elements of urban fiction in romance. So that's a great thing. And so as far as like Muslim romances that we're trying to introduce now, that's what we do. It's just like the characters, we center those Muslim characters and the culturally unique ways that Muslims can find each other and fall in love. It can be very, very distinctive, very, very culturally unique. And readers want that. It's diverse, it's different. And so readers want that. So I think that's very important to say, not hinder yourself and be like, well, I have to write the typical Harlequin romance. I think we actually don't. I just think that we actually really, really don't. I hadn't seen myself in romance for so many years. And it wasn't until Beverly Jenkins came out. Did you guys ever read her? She's like the hallmark Black romance writer in the U.S. And so she's the one that's just kind of like, yeah, you can have a Black woman who's loved and cherished and who's pursued.
Yeah.
So I think
that's a great segue to what I want to talk about. So just hold that thought, Layla, about the Muslim characters and dealing with love. And you're going into that. So I want to bring that into the full panel. How do you deal with your Muslim characters? Do you stay away from Muslim characters? Are you only writing about non-Muslim characters and taboo issues that happen with love, or what? Where are you on that spectrum? Are you only with Muslim characters? Are you dealing with non-Muslim characters, or is it a combination of everything? And what are you pushing your characters to do and explore in that realm of love and romance? Mm-hmm. Sister Seyna, what do you think about that?
Okay. I'm not as brave as Layla. I have not written a story where all the characters are really out there, completely, obviously Muslim. But if you read my book and you know the Islamic culture, and you can tell these people, the women at least, are Muslim Black women. Majority of them. I have, I think, a couple of characters who are, but they're always Black women. But most of them are of, they're of African descent, and they're Muslim. But I'm really torn between the representation and wanting to touch on different type of messages. So let's say the majority of my characters will speak to a wide audience. We're working on a series right now with Sister Layla for Ramadan. So for that, I'm very excited because these characters, I will talk about their Islamic life and how they deal with their feelings, but it will be really Deen oriented. So that's where.
Interesting, exciting. Sister Sara, what about you? Where are your characters at? Are they Muslim, non-Muslim, combination?
So far I've only written one historical romance that included Muslim characters. The rest of my stories, I tend to steer clear of writing a definitive Muslim characters. Like I say, I'm like Seyna says, I'm not as brave as Layla in that sense. To
none of us are.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the halal nympho. Excuse me.
It's Sunday. We're too early in the morning.
I mean, where I stand with my characters. I mean, if you've ever read My Disposable, straight out of the gate, I'm right into the erotic. I don't have a problem with that. But when it comes to a Muslim character, I feel intrinsically in my heart that it needs to be dealt with in a particular manner. I'm not. I hate reading reviews where people don't understand, and I've heard Layla rant about, why does this character have to be like this, and I don't want to have to defend myself in this kind of manner. So I'm away from that. I try to stay away from that because it's, there are a lot of issues. I mean, not only as a romance writer, but as a writer in general, as a Black writer, we have so many issues to
Hurdles.
contend with.
Hurdles and hurdles.
Yeah, you know, and the hurdles are constantly getting higher, you know.
Yes.
And the more we, I mean, it just a simple genre for us to head into has so many issues that for me to, you know, you can't fight a battle on two different fronts. So I choose my battles and I walk down that way, but I know where my heart stands.
Right. I understand that. I'm not, you know, quote unquote romance writer, but you know, I have elements, and there's a subplot where there's characters who are going through romantic feelings, and it's definitely some hesitance, like how far am I able to push this limit, the envelope, as they say. Nasheed, what about you?
I
know.
We all do.
We all know.
Well, no, I wanted to write to express the Muslim life, because, you know, in media you see the Muslim life like we're just this one way, but we feel, we love, we take care of our kids. We got all those things. So when I decided to start writing, I wanted to show that, to bring the reader into the Muslim home and show you the different emotions and struggles we go through as Muslim. So I try to write Muslim characters and show you, even though I do have some ideas, well, it's still going to be, I have some ideas to write, you know, about the non-Muslims, but there's still going to be a Muslim character in there who may not be the best Muslim, but I need you to see that Muslim too. You know what I'm saying? I need you to see
like,
it.
You mean like Justice?
Huh? No. No.
I know Justice is not bad.
Just because I mean, I want you to see him. I want you to, you know, get in his life, because he's Muslim too, and I know him. Well, you know him. We know him. We know that guy. You know what I'm saying? So I want you to see him too, and her also from what they're feeling. That's really what I'm trying to get into, how they feel and the thoughts that they have. That's what I want to bring out. So yeah, I try to write Muslim characters. Yeah.
All right, Layla. And I just want to give a shout out to the comments coming in. So we have some really great comments. We're not by far ignoring them. We're going to get to them in a minute. And there's some good questions, and y'all, we're going to throw a curveball because there's some good questions coming in. Go ahead, Sister Layla. There's some good questions on the side.
Well, I even though I would like to take that mantle of being brave, I don't think that I'm being brave, because I just really became committed to the fact that I wanted Muslim readers to see themselves in these romances. I think that, you know, I've been Muslim for years. And I mean, you know, there's so much about being a Muslim woman that so much romance is detached from our lives, and we're taught to have it detached from our lives. I wanted Muslim women to see themselves. I wanted Black Muslim women to see themselves. I wanted readers to see not only the ways that Muslims fall in love, but the fact that intimacy is a very important part of that relationship, and the good, the bad, the ugly of it, you know, and also that you can have faith and still make mistakes in your life. There's things that are happening in our communities that, you know, that are very real, and, you know, we just want to sweep them under the rug. We don't want to talk about them or anything like that. But fiction is an opportunity to do that. And so romance fiction is an opportunity to address some of those issues that occur culturally. And in my case, like in Black Muslim culture specifically. So yeah, my characters are not perfect, and they do some wrong things and everything like that. But, you know, that's because we do.
Right.
That's because we do. And I can't stand the idea of, especially Muslim women, detached from being objects of affection and something to be cherished. And so I integrate that into my romances. And also, I cannot, as far as, that's the reason why I'm like, I got so excited about Nasheed when I found him. I got so excited about him because when you write your male characters, even though I cannot stand Justice for the life of me, and I even need to leave him, okay? You really delve into that daily, everyday life, the emotional processes, the thought processes that Muslim men have to go through, that some Muslim men have to go through, that some Black Muslim men have to go through. What community means, what marriage means, what all these responsibilities heaped on you mean. And even like the one thing I can really say about Justice that is so amazing is that he is one of those men that externally will do the most to for women, and on the inside he's just like, I can't stand the way they act, I can't stand the way they are and stuff. But that's real. So it's just like you have the opportunity to do that. So I think that the reason why I've gone the road that I've gone down is because of that. And I get a lot of readers. Yeah, I get pushback, but I get a lot of readers that DM me. And, there are Muslim men that read my books. There are Muslim women that read my books. There are non-Muslims that read my books. And they DM me, and it's like, I really liked your book. It was really good. I connected to a lot of it and everything like that. So it is something that is important. It's something that I think is giving value to the ummah, inshallah.
Yeah, and that's another great setup. The next question, because today is the title, it's Steam and Deen. So we gotta go there. How steamy do you go? What's the line? Do you have a line? And I think that really goes perfectly with what Nasheed was talking about in terms of representing the full picture, the 360 of Muslim life. And wanting to show and represent, what love and what steam looks like in Muslim marriages or relationships. So where's your line? Do you have a line? What's happening in this genre? With all of you great authors. Go ahead.
Oh, it's an open question?
I'm scared. I'm scared. As Layla say, go take us into the bedroom. Take us in the bedroom. Leave the door open so we can see everything.
I remember when I showed that to you. I was like, bro, you couldn't do it. Why you do that?
I crack the door. I leave the door cracked. I mean, because some of the best books I've read, they don't really get into the scene. You know what men and women do. You know what I'm saying? You know what's about to happen. And and you have to write those scenes tastefully. You know what I mean? I'm scared. I'm gonna just say that. I'm scared to get into that. Listen, at first when I wanted to start writing fiction, I didn't want to write Muslim fiction. I really wanted to just go all out and do some Jerome Dickey, who just died just recently, this year.
Jerome Dickey
He just died this year. That was my
Eric Jerome Dickey, great legend.
And there are a lot of Muslim authors that do that. There are a lot of Muslim romance authors that go down that road. They decide that they don't want to attach their name to it because of that reason. And as far as content, I think in Seyna and Sara, because they have a lot of books, I think that it depends. I think that, like Nasheed said, there's a whole breadth that you can go. There's a spectrum that we have available, from very, very sweet, okay, to all out erotic. And even erotica in and of itself, it can be a very scary terrain to navigate as a writer. So I think it just really kind of depends. A lot of it is, if you write a character-driven romance, it depends on the character. And I think that, especially when it comes to sensual scenes, for me, it has to feed the plot somehow. Right?
Okay. Yes.
So it's just not like dropping a scene in there just because of dropping a scene. So I have one scene in a book where the female protagonist is a domestic abuse survivor, and so she's married, and she's having her first night with her husband, and she gets scared. She gets triggered. Okay, and so what happens then? What happens between those two characters? And sometimes, I'm sorry, Sara, I think that I can definitely see a Muslim woman doing exactly what Kareem did. Okay, this I can see it. I can definitely see it, but it's just like I'm not scared of it. I'm not scared of the content. I just know that there's certain avenues I will not go down. As a Muslim, there are certain avenues I will not go down. And I know that people seem shocked by our content, but nah. Y'all don't know. Y'all don't know what's down some of those roads. Am I wrong, Seyna? Am I wrong?
Wrong.
All right, Sister Seyna, what say you? What happened and what's happening with your books? Where's the line?
There's variety. The book that I was telling you about, 7 Days to Love, that book, the male character actually is who's Muslim, and the female character is, she's Christian African American, and these two are childhood friends. They just grew up, and their bond became stronger and stronger. So these two, to me, it was a sweet story from the beginning. That's how it came to me, and that's how it stayed. But some other characters, I have some characters who, these divorced women who are, getting back into dating and giving a new chance to their love life. I will be more bold and open door, contrary to Brother Nasheed, on those type of stories.
Mm-hmm. And Sister Sara?
Where's the line? I don't. There is a line. I do have a line. I'm not like Layla says. It's not just erotic experiences just for the sake of it being erotic. I think that's the wrong in any genre. I think that's the wrong. It's like murder in a thriller, just for the sake of it being murder. I think that I don't, unless it pushes the plot. What's the point? So yes, the scenes in my other books where there is beyond the bedroom door, I think it's important that that you explore your craft and you explore how far you're willing to go for your craft. If you the wider you the deeper you take your characters into desire, it's a natural process. It depends on whether you want to take the reader in through the bedroom door with them or not. I mean, I've done both, so I don't see that it's really an issue for me, because I'm constantly pushing myself to explore how my own craft, my own technique. So there isn't, I mean, certain things I don't like abuse. I don't and I don't agree with that for being in any way, shape or form erotic for me. That's just it's not. I don't find it as a female, I don't find it pleasurable. So why should I? There's no way I could take my characters into that. Whereas some others, they can.
I mean, there's a whole subgenre now, bully romance. There's a whole subgenre of the female protagonist being physically and emotionally abused by the male protagonist. And it is growing, and it has a big readership, and there are authors who write in it who make a lot of money from it, but it doesn't mean that that's necessarily something that you're going to want to do, because like, it not only is it not erotic, but it's just like, are you comfortable with that as an author? Is it something that you
with that as a person?
Are you comfortable with that as a person? But I mean,
sorry, Layla. At the end of the day, your craft is yourself, so it's an extension of you.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. And also, it's just like readers want that aspect of it because of the fantastical part of it. So I think that a lot of times what people lose sight of is just like with any other fiction, there can be that fantastical part of it. So like if you look at urban fiction, you know, it's not that necessarily all the readers of urban fiction, or let's say like all the female readers of urban fiction want to be like a trap queen or something like that, you know, but it's the fantastical part. It's not only what they may or may not see, but I think there's a lot of suburbanites that read that same stuff. It's just like, you know, it doesn't mean that that's what you want in your life. So it's a lot of times that fantastical part of it. And so that's with any fiction genre. But it's just like when it comes to romance, when it comes to those sensual scenes and things like that, do you want to give readers the fantastical part because there are readers who want that? Or do you want to keep it more grounded and even keel with what you want to show readers and what you want them to have more of a vicarious experience? So it's just like, do you want when you have two characters making love, do you want the readers to see themselves in it or to be like the detached kind of voyeuristic type of reading because there's no way in the world that they would want a person to treat them that way?
Those are good questions. And I think that rounds right into your demographics. Like, are you writing for your readers or are you writing for yourself? And if you are writing for your readers and you really do value everything that they say, that they push you the directions that they push you in, do you feel bad when they have negative comments or there's a lot of pushback of what you're doing, especially as a Muslim author? Do you get, how much pushback are you getting? Has all of the feedback been, what is it, like 50-50? Are you getting positive and negative, or are you seeing more negative? Where are you with your readers and the commentary that they're sending back to you, the feedback? Sister Seyna?
There's both. There's some great reviews that really are encouraging and, you know, push me to go forward. And there are some comments that are, a lot of the comments the more negative or mitigated comments I get is, okay, this story is too short. We wanted to know more. And
yeah.
and I feel like with these stories, I'm trying to capture a moment or a period in someone's life and to tell the story of that moment. And I say it, usually in the subtitle it says short story. And so, and I understand that when I read something,
they don't get it.
I want a longer, you know, moment in that universe. But yeah, that's some of the negative feedback I get. But I'm very happy that it hasn't been negative feedback about the culture of my characters, about their, you know, their religion, or the fact that, okay, these people are obviously people of color. So that aspect, I was a little, you know, you never know. People are just horrible, and I'm glad this hasn't happened.
And this is for Brother Nasheed. We have a comment, and it says that the nikah, the marriage, should not be based on romance, but on future objectives.
Oh my God.
That's a cultural, that really seems very cultural. And so can you answer that coming from a Black American? Can you answer that from a Black American perspective? Because I think that's so different than what we have in Black American culture. So what do you say to that?
No pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to be, as men, we have to be well-rounded. Of course, yeah, a man needs to, you know, have a vision for the future for his family. You know what I mean? He has to, you know, prepare things. If things go wrong, things have to be in place for that. But she has to be able to love you at the same time. I don't think love is like to be in love with somebody or to love you, just to be loved, not to be in love, but just to love somebody. I don't think that's a part of a lot of dudes' way. Like, and I hear them. They say they want him to trust. They want him They want her to trust him more than they love him. And I get that. I get that too. I want her to trust me too. But at the same time, in those intimate moments when we're alone, I want, you know, you have to be, I guess, yeah, romantic. You know what I'm saying? Making her laugh, you know, just those sensual moments are important. And you have to be able to let her be in love with you or fall in love with you, like over and over again. Because it doesn't stay, it doesn't last. It goes away after a while because you get into the routine of life, you know, work and everything. You get into the routine of life, but there's those moments that you want her to fall in love with you. Yeah, so I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
Layla?
Can you repeat the comment?
Right. It says that nikah, which is the Islamic marriage, should not be based on romance, but on future objectives.
Actually, if you're talking about the actual nikah, like actually getting married, the ceremony itself, or the actual the being married to each other. I'm trying to understand, because nikah is a specific event. That is the actual marriage. You know, you have the signing of the contract and walima and everything like that.
What brings those people together? What brings them together? The nikah, which is the signing of the contract, that actual one event should not be based on romance. Like maybe he's saying like you shouldn't be choosing a mate on romance or whatever the case may be. You shouldn't be coming together, joining for that nikah based on romance, but on future, you know, objectives, goals, and money.
You won't have a future without romance. Okay, and Allah says it. Allah says it. He says in Surah Al-Rum, among his signs is that he created for you your mate and put love and affection, not pure future prospects, not what you're bringing to the table, not any of that stuff. Yeah, that stuff is important, but at its crux, the union that Allah has used as one of his ayats between spouses is one based on love and affection. That's the thing that brings about the peace so that you can be together. And yes, it changes, but the romance is a constant. It's something that changes. As soon as that leaves the marriage, okay, she probably will too. And you'll wonder why she's gone when everything was okay, because I got her the house, I got her the car, I got her this, I got her that, but I'm cold. Because ultimately romance is the feel and is exhibiting to your partner that they are loved and cherished. And if your partner does not feel that, that will tear down your marriage faster than losing the house, losing the car, losing anything like that. You can lose all of that stuff, but if you have that love and that cherish between each other, you'll go through all of that together. But as soon as they don't feel loved, as soon as they don't feel cherished, they will check out of that relationship. They may still be there physically because they may feel stuck at the time. Okay, but the moment they have an opportunity to leave, you will be by yourself with all of your future aspirations.
Sister Sara.
Mawaddatan wa rahma. Okay. Yep. Now, why did Allah create Eve? To be a companion for Adam. Adam didn't ask for so they could buy a house, so they can have money, so that he could be something in the future. He sought a companion for the there and then because he was lonely. So if you're marrying for the purpose of what you can attain in the future, remember Allah is the best of planners. So if you're marrying for some future plan that doesn't include building your family on a firm foundation, and that foundation ultimately has to be love and respect. If it's for something else, for some future gain or for some future benefit, you need to think, you need to wrap that up and think again and go your separate ways, because I couldn't do that. not for
Right.
something for the future. I mean, you marry somebody who has nothing. The Prophet ﷺ started from nothing. Why are we looking for something that is monetary? Build, if I'm saying, yeah, I want my future spouse to be to have something Deen wise, that's different. But dunya wise, for the no.
Yeah.
Bye. You know,
but that could be a cultural lens, right? That could be a cultural lens, a different cultural lens than what has been taught and conditioned to us as Black Americans. Because I think in the Ummah, in the global Ummah, we do see marriages being, you know, wagered and set up based on, you know, things, materialistic things. Whereas within the Black American culture, romance and love is very much important. You know, you want to spend your rest of your life with a Black woman, you better have some love. You understand? Because you know, it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be difficult with her.
She gonna leave you.
She don't love you. You understand?
She gonna leave you.
She gonna have
and then she gonna tell everybody, and you ain't gonna be able to find another wife anywhere. But I think
it's gonna be real difficult.
I think we forget. I think we constantly forget how much of a consummate romantic the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was.
Exactly.
We always forget that. We take Islam and we're just like, you know, we just take that part of it out of it. He became interested in the things that the women that he loved was interested in. He would play with them. He bathed them. Okay, he would lay on their laps and read to them. I mean, he did some really swoon-worthy stuff, you know. And it's just like, and this is the Prophet of Allah. So it's just like, you know, I am the Prophet of Allah. You want to marry me? Like, if anybody got that, it would have been him, you know, because just on the fact of who he is. And so, but he was very romantic to his spouses. And so it's just like, it amazes me all the time. And I can understand where it comes from because so much of it has been detached from our faith, even by scholarship. I mean, I just mentioned in an article how Habiba Condé, he reintroduced this whole idea of Islamic erotomology, so sensuality and love and everything like that. He's written many books about it. There are other authors who have come out about it. You know, there's Lust and Grace. Like, you know, when you read that book, you see that there are some Islamic scholars that wrote some pretty like they addressed some pretty heavy stuff when it came to even just not even within the confines of very specific heterosexual committed spousal relationships through nikah. All of it. They addressed like all of it. So it's just like amazing how we say that Islam is a deen. It is a way of life. Okay, it's not just a religion, it's a way of life. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his wisdom has given us guidance in our way of life, meaning every aspect of our way of life. So that would include our carnal as well. And we always seem to kind of forget that. And we always seem to kind of forget that, you know, at the base, and Allah warns us about it over and over again, that like at the base, we are carnal human beings. And so we need to have we need to develop ways to direct that desire that we have in ways that are pleasing to him, because ultimately that relationship, that nikah, you sign that contract, that's between three entities. There's the two people, and then their Lord and Creator. Okay, and the Prophet ﷺ was always very specific about satisfying each other, about giving each other mutual gratification, about being loving to each other, and everything like that. And yes, sometimes it's just like, you know, relationships come together for different reasons. So even like, you know, when with the young man, a young man got married to an older woman. And so the Prophet asked him, why did you marry someone younger, like more your age, so that you could play with her? And he was like, because I got younger siblings. My parents are dead. I got younger siblings, and I need a woman. I can't have like a little girl come into the situation, a young woman come into the situation. I need someone that can handle this household for me too, you know? So it's like we always forget that aspect of it. It's like we have this complete way of life, and we need to kind of embrace it more.
I just wanted to add that for a woman, for a man, he chooses a woman for whatever reason. In Islam, we understand co-wives. For a woman who's marrying a man if a man marries his first wife, that man and the woman knows it's to build a future. If he takes a co-wife, that woman knows and the man knows that it's purely sexual. He's not building another family. It's not for that reason. He knows and she knows that it's purely sexual. Now, why, if he's doing that for the second wife or a third or a fourth, for whichever reason, why is the first wife left as, oh, you know, you're the wife and you're the mother and, you know, that's the role that you play. Is she not also allowed to have that same sexual gratification? Is she not also allowed to have that same love? You know, why does a woman have to choose between one thing or another? You know, that's wrong.
Sarah, if I might add to that, I think that's cultural also, that depiction you just gave of if I look in our society and culture, well, maybe my parents' generation, they still had that connection of, okay, you're gonna marry a second wife, but this is also a new family that you are building. Or it's not just, wow, this girl is beautiful and I want her in my bed in a halal way. The question was interesting because beyond a material projection, maybe this person is also saying, okay, I want to project for my akhirah. Maybe I want to choose qualities of someone who will push me in my deen and help me be strong. So that is very important, but excluding completely the romance is definitely a big mistake. That's like everyone shared it. It cannot work without that. And looking at examples of the Sunnah, it's, you know, as Muslims, and I feel like Muslim women, we hang on to that feeling because it's so beautiful and it touches us so much. And I don't know what Brother Nasheed thinks, but sometimes when I speak to my husband about, okay, well, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did this, why aren't you more, you're supposed to emulate him? And, you know, like you guys push that under the rug. I don't know what you think. All those
she put you right in front of that bus.
Well, personally, okay, this is personal. My wives, they tell me they adore me. That's what they tell me, both of them. Like, so I can be a better husband, I'm sure. But when it comes to sensual moments, I'm probably not as romantic as I should, but I try my best. That's me. Yeah. But I know dudes who just, you know, I'm gonna pay the rent. I'm gonna, you know, go to work. I'm gonna take care of things, and she gonna be happy with that. You know, I know dudes like that.
Yeah, so that's the biggest mistake they can make.
Is romance missing out of the Muslim community? Is it dying? Is it dead? Are you all bringing back?
I think that's what. I think that's one of the reasons why I write the fiction. I think that's one of the reasons why it's the fictional aspect is important, because you have these very real societal messaging. You know, unfortunately, you know, we have these wonderful Muslim brothers that are never given the opportunity to fully understand how important certain things are when it comes to romance, when it comes to sensuality. You know, it's just kind of like they're given this whole idea that women should be grateful that you want them and that you're going to take care of them, and you really shouldn't have to do anything else. I think that the brothers that you know who are like, well, I'm paying the rent and everything like that, I think that's kind of like their love language, because that's what they're taught. As men, this is what you do.
Listen,
and so
it's not just in the Muslim community. This is something that's happening worldwide. It's like it's going on, even not in it. Not even, so that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to teach men how to bring that back, how to bring love and affection back so they can have long relationships. Because it affects the relationship. If that's all you're thinking about is just paying the bills or whatever. You know what I mean? Because we're okay, and I think that's what it is. We don't feel like you guys feel. Like we see the world differently. You know what I mean? Like I always say, you've never heard a man say, "Oh, she's so romantic." Like you don't hear dudes say that. But because that's your world. That's what y'all live in. So we have to be able to step inside of your world and make you feel like you're loved. That's what we need to do. That's what I'm trying to. I'm putting together a program to make that happen, inshallah.
Yeah. And that's what I try to get my characters to convey. I try to get, especially the male characters, and especially the Muslim male characters, you know, there's so many aspects of like who the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was that I integrate into my characters, because I want them to see that. I want readers to see that, because especially when you're talking about in this age, and you guys have seen it, Seyna and Sara, where it's just like this whole like white feminist influence on romance, where it's just like you have these extremes. Either you have that really alpha, it's called an alpha a-hole, you know, really abusive type of male, or you have, you know, for lack of a better term, a simp. Okay. And so it's just like, that wasn't who our prophet was. And that's not necessarily what every romance reader wants. And that's not necessarily what every woman wants. So I wanted to integrate aspects of that, was just like, you know, it is a leader, you know, they are leading and they have certain aspects and characteristics to them. And that's the reason why I like Nasheed's book so much, is because like he shows the inner workings of that. Like I'm a woman, like I can show how they demonstrate that in the characters, but he actually can delve into the minds, and he can show readers the mindset of, you know, what's happening internally to make this character act this way externally. Like, what is that whole process, and what are all those little pinpoints of that character's life that kind of makes them act that way? So I think that becomes very important. That's why the fiction is so important. It's like, you know, we need to see how life, the faith, impacts the way that we love each other and connect with each other. And so I think that's why fiction is so important. The romance fiction is so important.
Absolutely.
Before we get away from the STEAM part, has anybody written about polygyny? This is a question from the audience, because we did talk about this, and this is Sara, she brought it up.
I did kind of. I actually have two romances coming in my brothers-in-law series with the brother Faisal Khan, and he ends up with a few wives, okay, but you have to wait for the books. But in my book, Open to Love, the main character, Hafsa, she's the second wife. And she's okay with being a second wife at first. Then her husband kind of flips the tables on her. But yeah, no, she's a second wife. And the whole idea of she ends up divorced, and then now she's entering this new relationship, and she's decided uncategorically that she's not going down that road again. And that causes an issue in the book. She doesn't want to go down that road. She's like, nah, he messed that up too bad for me. I'm not doing that again. And so that causes an issue in the book. I think that having polygynous relationships in Muslim romance is very, very important. And I look forward to writing Faisal and his wives. But I also do it in non-Muslim books too. So it's just like, you know, there's polyamorous relationships. And that's another aspect of romance, which is like interesting, right, Sara and Seyna? You have this thing called reverse harem. Okay, don't even get me started on the phrase. but this whole idea that, the reverse harem is when the woman is having sexual relationships with more than one man. Okay. And so a lot of times in romance right now, there are quite a few of them, and it's something that is applauded. But a man with more than one woman still is not, is derided and everything like that, which I think is hypocritical. But again, that's white feminism. Don't get me started. So I think that it becomes very important to kind of show those lives and show the positive aspect. I mean, we do have examples of functioning and loving relationships in Islam among Muslims that are polyamorous. It's not all gloom and doom and destruction and emotional degradation and leaving you on the floor. It could be that, but that's relationships, period. You could dog each other out one at a time, like that. So I think it is important. I can't wait to show readers that. But yeah, I do write about it.
Anybody else?
I have not.
Because it's so close to my life. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Seyna. No, go ahead, Seyna.
So what I was gonna say is Layla's book, Open to Love, that polygamous relationship was very close to what Sara was describing. Because your character, she was more about, it was her physical connection with her husband more that took over. But it is very difficult if you haven't lived it to portray it, or if, like me, I've seen it in the prior generations, maybe my parents or my grandparents, and it doesn't speak to me beyond a certain level. And maybe also I don't want to project myself into that reality. So but I've had ideas.
Yeah. It depends on the character, what the characters want.
You know what? Yeah, that's true. Well, me, because it's so close to my life, I don't want to write about it, but because fiction really helps move the society, like Layla was saying, it always has. I think I may dive into something, just to give you the man's point of view, just to give you the man's point of view of what he's thinking about when dealing with different women in a polygamous relationship.
You need to put Crystal in a
No, she will leave somebody. No.
He'd be dead on the doorstep.
Yeah, Crystal, no, she will not make it.
So I look forward to it.
Yeah, it's a really interesting read. And that's the thing. It's like when you have characters, a lot of times it's just like so much of what is real about who we are as Muslims is seen as distasteful in Muslim culture, and so it's something to be glossed over. But in those things, there is not there's triumph in that. So it's just like, how do you see the characters going from that stage to the next stage to the next stage? It becomes like really, really important. Like honestly, I hammered Nasheed after I read Her Justice, because I loved that book so much. Okay, I even love to hate Justice, because I always bring him up. But it was just like, I felt a little bit robbed. I was like, yeah, you shouldn't have closed the door on those two characters. Maybe some other characters, but not. You got me so invested in them that it's just like, oh, okay, dang, okay. But I respect the reason why he did that, and I respect the reason why romance authors do that. And I just expect the same respect of why I may not do that. You know what I mean? Like, it depends on what the characters want. Like right now, I'm writing a Ramadan romance. And the main character, Samir, is like, nah, you're not showing me and my woman doing all that.
The character, right.
He's like, no, that's not me. That's not us. It's not going to happen. You close that door, Layla. So I'm fighting with him right now. But it's just Like,
Right.
do you know who I am? You know, right?
He said the Ramadan.
He's like, it's Ramadan, and that's not me, and that's not her. Close that door. I'm gonna slam it in your face. So it's just like, and so you start to wonder, like as an author, you start to wonder, like in this particular, like one of the things that I do is that because I write non-Muslim characters and Muslim characters, like I'll send to non-Muslim characters and Muslim characters. I don't like writing love scenes outside of marriages for Muslim characters. That's one of my lines. I feel like for non-Muslim characters, that's disingenuous. But for Muslim characters, what I really want to show is functional and productive and mutually gratifying sensual scenes between married partners. That's what I want to show first and foremost. So I have a tendency not to show those sex scenes outside of marriage. And I actually feel like I get more liberty that way because, yeah, they do some things. But it's just like, that's just my cutoff, you know, and that's my character's cutoff. You know, Miriam is like, no, you're not showing me doing that with Rod. You can't do that to me. We're not married. So
I get that.
That makes sense. That does. Last question before we get into these readings. Do you have any tips on how to write freely without the white gaze, or writing over the white gaze, or writing over the Muslim gaze? Because, you know, there are other segments of the Muslim community who could be just as objective to your work as the white gaze.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
question?
So earlier
Go ahead,
you asked, who'd you ask? Do you write for yourself, or do you write for your audience?
Mm-hmm.
I used to write poetry, right? And when I started writing poetry, it was for me. Like I wanted to get this stuff off my chest, but then I started going to poetry spots and then I started writing for crowds, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, the poetry was still nice, but I didn't have that feeling, that feeling I wanted. You know what I mean? So I would suggest that you always write for you, man, regardless of the comments or, you know, the reviews you get. You still write for you in whatever, you know what I mean? In whatever you do. The white gays, the Muslim gays, because they're gonna talk, they're gonna tell you what they want to. Grizzly, they mad at us right now because we're talking about fiction. Muslims don't write fiction. Like, we ain't supposed to be doing this. That's what they're saying. But you have to write for you. You know the purpose why you're writing, you know, the purpose of you writing. Always write for who you want to be or what you want to represent. That's what I would say.
Anybody else?
I think it's hard to say to write for somebody else, because at the heart of what you're trying to do as a writer is to write, you know, what you feel. So if your mind is on a certain theme and you're writing about this theme, you can't do it when you're thinking about writing it for somebody else. It's got to be, you know, we're writing for an audience, but we're not writing because this audience member wants this. For example, in my disposable, everybody, like, I found a lot of comments there. Oh, I wanted to hear the other side, the other side's story, but it wasn't about the male in this book. It was only about Karen. That was her story and no one else's. And no matter which way you looked at it, it can only ever be about that. So you can't, I don't think that you can write for a particular group, or for somebody's perspective. We'll always have that gaze. As Mr. Jaxson said, we'll always have that gaze. We'll always have that white gaze. We'll always have the cultural gaze. We'll always have that, oh, you're a Muslim, you shouldn't be doing things like that. Leave me alone. You know, it's
Thank you.
You know, I write poetry, and I used to write a lot of poetry, and I stopped because I was writing angry poetry. So I stopped, you know, because you see the injustices in your life, and you start penning something, and it sounds like it sounds like a war cry. Yeah. So, you know, you stop. So, but I can't write for somebody else. I'm not, if I've got to write for, because this person wants a story to go in a certain way, and no matter what you write, you will always get it. Oh, why didn't they do this? And why didn't they do that? And
no, all the time.
You know, either write the story yourself or leave me alone.
Yeah.
I
always tell writers, I say, well, you could have did it like this. And I'm like, well, write that story. You should write that story.
Right.
It's your story.
Why are you?
That's your story. So you write it, and I would love to read it, you know. Go ahead, Layla.
You know, it's funny because when you think about even something like writing style, you know, one of the things that I noticed in my years in literary criticism is that, you know, I had to learn to appreciate there were certain things that readers want, okay, within genres. And so, and within those genres, there's subgenres, there's certain things that readers want. So in some instances, yes, you're writing to a particular readership. Okay, so it's like, you know, you're not going to have a horror book unless, you know, someone gets killed, you know, there's a monster or something like that. You can't have a mystery without a dead body, you know. And so it's just like there's certain things that readers are looking for, and there's certain styles that readers end up looking for. And that's one of the things that I learned with my romances, because I got typed as an urban fiction writer, but I really don't write urban fiction because there's this very specific style that readers are looking for. And people who read urban fiction went and read one of my romances was like, what is this here? You know, because the writing style was just different writing styles. That's it, you know? And so it was just like, and some, they were like pleasantly surprised and they liked it. And I got a couple of one-click readers out of that. But some people were like very much like, you know, what is this mess? What's this garbage? This is not urban fiction, you know? And, you know, it's just like the same with romance. Like I have like a lot of white readers don't like my books. Don't care, but a lot of white readers don't like my books. And it's because I don't follow that archetype that's out there now when it comes to romance. And so when you make those divergences and stuff, if you're writing to a gaze, you're not going to make those divergences. And then you're not going to get your readership, because that's what you want as an author. Yeah. You want your readership, that people, when they see your name, they're like, oh, I like what that author does, so I'm going to click that author's name. Okay. And that may not be a vast majority of people, and until you become a thing, you know. So just like like urban fiction, you got to write until it becomes a thing or something like that. So yeah, no, definitely. And as far as the Muslim gaze, it's like, it's myopic. It's too myopic. It's just like you have no freedoms as an author. You have no freedoms as an author. When you think about it, it's just like even children's book authors are not safe. Because it's like, God forbid you put an eyeball on somebody. Yeah. Okay. And then there's a whole other thing. So it's just like, and it's this duplicitousness, because I don't see authors who are killing their characters or slaughtering each other. I posed this question to somebody because someone did not like my latest book cover. I'm like, okay, but you know, you only see his chest, his back. That's all you see, right? And so they're like, but this and this and this and that. And I said, let me ask you a question. So would it be okay that he was fully dressed and he had a gun to her head? Would that be all right? Is that okay? Is it all right for that to happen, but not this to happen? You know, it's just like this duplicitousness. Like you can, like Muslim authors can write someone slaughtering somebody, which they have done. But they can't write about two people kissing each other.
Right.
Like, yeah, nah,
Right.
you got to get your priorities straight. I have more respect. I have more respect for Muslim readers who find it all something that they don't like, and then those who kind of cherry pick. They kind of cherry pick their sensibilities of what they feel is okay and what is not okay. I'm not down with that. I'm not writing to you. I'm not writing for you. Have a nice day. And they're gonna pick up my book anyway. I know that, but just
yeah. But then there is, and I'll say the way we say it up here, a lot of fakeism, in the Muslim community. Because they will support non-Muslim authors who are writing about, Muslim terrorism, or about Muslim oppression, Muslim women being oppressed. They'll buy those books up and support them all day long. And then when it comes, they'll watch those movies. They'll be like, oh, this is my show. And it's a non-Muslim author, and they're talking about something that has been sensationalized. And so they'll spend their money on it, and they'll support it. And it actually harms us as a community, those sort of images and representations. But, that's their show, that's their book, that's their people. So it's a lot of fakeism. The Muslim will write about love, or you'll write about whatever you're writing about, from your perspective, from an authentic representation. And it's like, well, why you want to put that out there? Why you want to show that? Why you want to talk about that in front of them?
Yeah.
So, you gotta know the day ones from the fake ones.
Yep. And you got to know that there are readers out there, there are Muslim readers out there who value what it is that you do. And there are some that'll they'll object. They'll be like Lady Macbeth. The lady does object too much, and they still buy your book. I have one reader who constantly criticizes my love scenes. I don't like that you have these love scenes in it. I don't like these, but they continue to buy my books. Am I right? I'm like, all right, sis. Okay, yeah, I know, sis. Yeah, I know. All right.
But you read it.
But they still read the book, because you can read over the love scenes. You don't have to. You can read over the love scenes. I don't suggest that you do, because I put a lot of work into them. It's like each one has its own reason, But it's just like, they'll probably end up reading it too. That's something BMACon pointed out to me, because that's something he gets a lot of. He doesn't even write fiction. He writes educational books. Research. His books are educational, and they're still like, women don't need to orgasm, and why are you writing about this and all of this stuff? But it's like, dude, but he's like, they buy my books anyway. They just they're gonna buy them anyway. So it's just like, you have to write within your genre, decide how it is you want to break from the mold that is there. There's certain rules you can't break. It's not a romance if it doesn't have a happily ever after. And so beyond that, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to show readers? What is it that what's the message that you want to send to readers? And the thing is like, because you're the member of such a dynamic and rich culture, you have so much to offer as an author. You just really, really do. And it's just like, people are going to get mad at me, but I don't care. When you think about being a Black Muslim and the things that you have to offer within all of those layers of your experiences, it's just like, you don't have to write the same story. You don't have to write the same story. So it's just like, you don't have to write the same, like, immigrant, my parents don't understand me, and I'm in love with the jock type of stories. You could write a whole bunch of other different things. It doesn't have to be that one thing, and especially if you're not catering to the white gaze, because that's what the white gaze wants to see. Okay, that's why white women buy those books. White women buy those books from Muslim women because that's what they want to see. They want to feel superior. Look at this deluded Muslim woman with this immigrant family, don't understand it, sexually repressed her. Why don't you just go on and go for that job type of thing? And we're superior in what we have. And so that's why those books sell, honestly. And if you're one of those authors and you're mad at me about it, come see me. It's all right. We can talk about it because it's true. So it's just like you can offer so much more. And those authors can offer so much more, but they're trapped. They become trapped in that. They become trapped in that because even their Muslim readership becomes trapped in that. What do white women like? I want to read what white women read. Black readers too. Black readers are not totally immune to that. Like, you know, I belong to all these groups and I'm just like, dude, like, yeah, nah, why aren't you looking at these other books too? You know, it's always what the dominant culture tells. It's always the Black person that the dominant culture touts as a good writer or a good this or a good that. And it's like, yeah, they may be good writers, but there are other ones too. You know, so break free from that. So it's just like, you know, that's what you have an opportunity to do. You have an opportunity to break free from that. You can make romance, sci-fi, paranormal, mystery, suspense, thriller, horror, anything that you want it to be, because you have so much to offer just from your cultural experience.
Absolutely. And so we're going to get into that right now with these readings. We have, who would like to go first? Who would like to read and share and represent Black Muslim
You have to pick somebody. Pick Nasheed.
Atlanta, you up.
Atlanta.
All right, so I'm reading to you from my recent book, Her Justice 2, Forgiveness is Earned. There's a strong, what makes you say that? There's a strong vibe that comes off of you whenever I'm around you. Whenever whether I'm conscious or unconscious, there's a spiritual energy that makes me feel alive. Naima knew what he was talking about. She felt it too. The heater needed to be turned down because it started to get hot. Gabriel continued. I have a theory that I conceived reading the Quran a few years ago. A verse that reveals that everything in creation was created in pairs. Scholars have explained this to be things like men and women, hot and cold, negative and positive, etc. For me, that's too general. I believe that for every man that walks the earth, there was a specific woman created from his rib. Like our parents, Adam and Eve, Naima asks, placing a thermometer in Gabriel's ear. Exactly. The Most High started our creation that way. Nowhere in the scriptures did he tell us he changed. My rib was used to create some beautiful woman, and I believe that woman is you. Gabriel looked up into Naima's eyes, who was now standing in front of him, holding his arm in a blood pressure reading. Naima wanted to tell him that she was divorced so they could immediately start a life together. She stood there gazing back into his eyes, feeling her body heat up. This man had game, but Naima could see that it was sincere. That spiritual connection he spoke about, being with her, that spiritual connection he spoke about, being with her since he came in contact with him, it never left her. And in that moment of him expressing his innermost beliefs and feelings with the rhythmic Caribbean baritone voice, Naima felt exposed. She licked her lips while he watched her and didn't care. So you're saying that we're fated to be together? I'm asking because Gabriel cut her off. The other night, I asked you how old you were to further confirm my theory. Now, how Naima was at full attention? That question had bothered her ever since that night. We know that Adam was created first. Then, after some time, the Most High created his mate, making Adam older than Eve. And I am a year older than you. She smiled. Gabriel went on. Adam and Eve lived together Adam and Eve lived two different lives, one in heaven, that one was spiritual, and one on earth that was more physical. When they was cast out of heaven, they landed in different spots on the earth and roamed the earth for years before they could find each other. That pattern of our parents went, that pattern our parents went through, we still follow that today. So even though you're married right now and he takes care of your physical needs, the spiritual vibes between us cannot be denied. I have roamed the earth and I have finally found my Eve. That's it.
Woo, Gabriel.
I'm still muted. All right, alhamdulillah. Sister Seyna up next.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is from 7 Days to Love. First day, 1 week, just 1 week, and I'd be back home with my books, my music, my personal space, and above all, peace and quiet. I keep my eyes on my younger sister's scalp and my fingers braiding down the long strands of synthetic hair. We're in our parents' family room, Mina sitting on a chair and me standing behind her, putting her hair into box braids. Now that all of us kids have moved out, this has become somewhat of a family tradition. Whenever we meet in our childhood home, we do each other's and our mom's hair. It's like a sweet walk down memory lane. The proximity, the hours spent together, the gift of beautification. I try shutting out Mina's blabbering the same way I did for years when we shared a room in this very house. But exactly like back then, Mina isn't easy to ignore. With her beautiful resonant laugh, vivacious hand gestures, and colorful tales. This, especially when she has an audience, and today her audience is one of a kind. His Supreme Fineness, Kareem Jallo, lifelong best friend to our elder brother Malik, and crush to all females on our block, without distinction of age. Kareem is a warm shade of cafe au lait, big and tall as a baobab tree, with the fine features of a Fulani, his mom's hazel eyes, and the gentleness and poise of an old soul. His deep voice wraps around you like a warning Afghan, one that's been with you through bad colds and even worse breakups, through freezing nights and lazy naps. Hearing him laugh at Mina's jokes puts a teeny, barely there smile on my face, one I never can completely repress. It's always been like this. His simple presence relaxes me, puts me on a state of bliss and comfort. So that's the beginning of the story, 7 Days to Love, with those two childhood friends I was talking about earlier.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you for
That's
sharing
first
that with
person
us.
done right.
Love the first person.
That's
Sister,
first person done right. It's not easy.
Sister Sara.
Okay, so this is book 1 of the Man in Chains series. I'm coming a little way in from the story anyway. Gianni, I'd waited. All morning I'd waited for her to wake up so I could ask her the one thing that settled in my gut like a stone. 2 days of disbelief, 2 days of patience, only to end up fighting like a pair of animals. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. I'd thought we could have had a quiet conversation about why she felt the need to dance in a nightclub. Her answers, the indifference she showed, told me she didn't care what I thought. It burned a hole in my chest until I'd lost my mind, slapping her across the face in a way I'd never, ever wanted to do. My whole life, I'd never been a man that beat up on a woman. That wasn't the way I'd ever wanted to settle a disagreement. I felt like absolute crap because I'd done just that. As a professional boxer who was so much stronger than her, laying hands on Shelley made me feel like the weakest piece of that ever walked the earth. It wasn't that she'd told me point blank she wasn't giving it up. It's that she made excuses for why she was doing it. Even if she couldn't admit it out loud, I knew exactly why she felt the need to display her body for other men to admire. She thought I was oblivious to the little schemes she played, but I'd seen them and decided to walk around the problem for the last few months. However, this was the last straw. When a man I despised came smiling in my face, grinning that he'd watched my wife gyrate up and down a pole for other men, that was too much. Where was the respect? Where had she misplaced the respect for herself? Even if she had none for me, the least she could do was have some for herself. That's what ate me up and had my feet pounding the pavement. Slowing the mad dash, I paced my run. Deciding to wait until she woke, I delayed my early morning run. The streets were busier now, so I took the back roads, cutting across major junctions when the need arose. When I glanced at my surroundings, I realized I'd run more than the 3 miles I usually did, but the fire in my veins refused to cool. If I went home now, it would be more of the same, and that was the last thing I needed. Turning my face to the gym, I put my head down and sprinted the last leg. Well, the end, not the end, but the end of that.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, it's deep.
All right, last but not least, we have Sister Layla.
Well, my excerpt is a little longer. I thought everyone was going to be longer than that. Now I feel bad. Okay, so this is from my book, Building on Broken Dreams. Adam, who has been courting Miriam for all of 4 weeks, has decided that it is time for them to get married. The Black-owned bookstore was a hot spot for locals interested in getting books rarely found in chain stores. The back section hosted a variety of Afrocentric and revolutionary titles from authors companies were worried about publishing. Adam unzipped his jacket, making his way down the long middle aisle. He pulled up a corner of his mouth at the sound of Miriam's voice. Here you go. Her back to him, he tightened his grip on his helmet at the strain of irritation he sensed from the sight of a well-dressed man garnering a flirtatious smile towering over her. Why, thank you. Did you ever get to read it? The man leaned an elbow on the top shelf and fixed his gaze on Miriam with half-hooded eyes. No, I haven't. Is there anything else you need? She crept slowly away as Adam approached. The man raised one eyebrow. Actually, your phone number would be nice. Adam felt the heat rush up his neck and face. He wasn't usually the jealous type, but another man running game on his Miriam had his blood surging. He erected to his full height, clenching his free fist. Nah, man, I already got that. She bumped into his steely frame and turned. He itched to take her into his arms, but kept them to himself. Assalamu alaikum. He remained fixed on her. His eyes remained fixed on the lecture. The customer squinted at them and curled his lips. I see. No disrespect, man. He tucked the book under his arm, craned his neck while straightening his tie. I just saw a beautiful lady. Adam scanned the man from toe to head and moved closer, making Miriam back up a little to avoid more contact. Got your book? The man smoothed the front of his shirt. Yeah. He walked towards Adam, then spun on a heel and strode in the opposite direction. Adam watched the dude until he made a left out of the aisle. He relaxed his shoulders and looked at Miriam, who shook her head and grinned with lips begging for a kiss. What? She slowly blinked. You're jealous. You say it like it's a bad thing. He jutted his chin towards the direction where the man had left. How often does that happen? Holding fingertips to her chest and raising one hand, she let out a booming laugh. Trust me, you don't want to know. She strode to the front of the store. I can handle his kind. Now excuse me while I go check out Loverboy. He stood sentinel at the register, glowering at Smooth. The defeated admirer left with only a book. A woman with a stack of books took his place, and a flood of customers lined up behind her. Miriam looked over to him and mouthed sorry. It sucked not having her attention when he wanted it. They were going to have to re-examine her working after the wedding. He hiked his backpack up his shoulders and continued to wait until the last person walked away with their purchase. She motioned with her finger for him to come closer. I thought you had a ton of work to do. He dropped the backpack on the counter and unzipped it. I do. but I'm leaving for Georgia tonight, and I wanted to see you before I go. Georgia? He reached in the backpack. Yeah, I deliver to my higher-end clients personally by escorting their car to them and going over the work we did. It keeps them loyal. She cast her gaze down and flicked the pen between her fingers. I'll miss you. The disappointment in her brown eyes sent a jolt of guilt through him. Me too. Don't worry, I'll be back by Friday. He put the thermos on the counter. I have something for you. She brushed her fingertips against its side. Oh, this is so sweet. Jazakallah. She picked it up and tipped it back and forth in her hand. Is there coffee in it? Absolutely. It's my special blend. I know you like having coffee. She set it down, running her fingers along the lid. He reached to help. Electricity surged through him from where their hands touched. Her accompanying giggle intensified it. He couldn't keep dodging her body when it was the very thing he wanted to feel the most. Every accidental touch threatened his self-control and sanity. The courtship could not continue much longer. He popped the top of the thermos. This will keep it hot for you. She floated her head over the gift, lowered her lids, and inhaled the steam, the tiny stream of steam escaping. She lifted it to her mouth and winced. Ow! She slid her tongue across her bottom lip. Careful. He dropped the backpack on the floor and took the thermos. Here. She leaned over the counter. He held it to her lips. Take a small sip. He guided it, jealous of the rim wrapped with their full lusciousness. Now swallow. She pursed her lips and closed her eyes. The moan echoing from her throat fueled the desire already pulsating through him. She couldn't know what she was doing to him. He shifted his gaze to the display of candy and bookmarks to calm his nerves. He was not waiting another 3 weeks to have her. It tastes good. You made this yourself? Yeah. She blinked slowly. You're so talented. He took a drink from the thermos, pressing his mouth where hers was. Thank you. He fit it into her palm. She put it back to her lips. How about we get married this weekend? She gulped and cleared her throat. This weekend? Yes. We've talked over everything and the contract is ready. Excuse me. He turned to the voice. The man in the Jackson hat stood behind him with a stack tapping to his foot. She craned her neck. Can I help you? Adam moved out of the way. She scratched her forehead and began scanning books. Let's talk about this tonight. She smiled at the old man who was looking back and forth between them. We can't. I'm leaving tonight. Her hand shook at the register keys. She finished the transaction and offered a smile. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. She motioned him behind the counter. I know you wanted to get married sooner, but I thought you were going to give me time. I will, but do you need it? Are you having doubts about us? None. I want to marry you, Adam. She tugged at the fabric framing her face. I just feel like more things should be said. We've each lived a life before now and know so little about them. I know about your family. I've spoken to your parents. Do you want to speak to mine before we marry? She grabbed the pen and paper and began doodling. It was all he could do not to hold her chin and draw her face back to his focus. She blew out a gust of air and scratched the pen against the paper. It's not that. It's just, I just don't want you to find out that there's something you don't like about me. I like everything about you. You don't know everything about me. Movement ceased in the small bookstore, and all eyes focused on them. She strode to the window and fussed with the display. The distance between them seemed more than a few feet. Something about her old life was scaring her, or at least she was afraid of him finding out about it. Her shoulders fell and she dipped her head. There are things I have to tell you before someone else does, and you end up hating me. His heart sank. The instinct to hold and comfort her crept through him and almost overtook his reason and restraint. He jammed his hands into his front jean pockets and took a step closer. Look at me. Her eyes glistened, ripping further into him. I don't want to know. She sniffed and wiped away escaping tears with a thumb. You only think you don't, but there's stuff you have a right to know about. She glanced around them. Her mouth hovered next to his ear. I'm not a virgin. She folded her arms and looked at him. blinking wildly. He squinted and pulled up a corner of his mouth. Okay, neither am I. It's not the same, he chuckled. In what book? Her arms dropped. Well, people consider it different. You're a man, you weren't born Muslim. Any gallivanting you did is forgivable. He rubbed the back of his neck. I don't care about people. Being a man doesn't mitigate sin. And what about transgressions I made after I became Muslim? I'm not perfect, Miriam. I've made mistakes since I took my Shahada. He shot her a mischievous grin. I'm sorry if you had your heart set on deflowering me. She picked up a huge art book from a shipment case. He dodged her swing. You think you're so funny? Yeah, I do. He held the other end of the book. Neither of us is going to our marriage bed inexperienced. If you don't hold it against me, I won't hold it against you. The tightness at the back of his neck eased as the strain faded from her countenance. All right, but Adam, he lifted his palm. No more revelations. We won't let our past corrupt the future. I want to talk to your father and uncle today and tell them we're getting married this weekend. She smiled. That sounds like a magnificent idea. That's it.
Oh, okay. She a little princess, huh?
She was tipping. She was tiptoeing. It was getting a little
Yeah,
hot.
she did a little something that she repented. But that's the thing. It's like she made mistakes in her life and she's trying to rebuild her life. And so she meets this great person and she has to think about that past life. Like, how's that going to impact the future that she wants with him?
But it sounds like she done did a whole bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, Adam was not innocent. Adam is far from the innocent one in this series. Like, it's 6 men. And Adam is just like the very rich, white, privileged man. And he had an unfulfilled life before he converted. And he did some stuffity stuff. Like the other men were always worried about Adam because Adam got into so much mischief and trouble.
I get that part, but you know how a dude feel about his girl. Like, did she just was with one person, or is it like, you know what I'm saying, she went on an escapade?
No, she don't have body counts.
Oh,
She don't have a high body count. She was actually seduced by another Muslim man, and he promised to marry her, but of course he was lying. And that's something that happens a lot, at least in where I am in New York. It's like, you know, a lot of times, like, Black Muslim women are targeted by non-Black men to go to bed with, but not to marry because their family would never accept it. And so that's what happened to her. And so she kind of is rebuilding her life from that. And so she meets Adam. So Adam doesn't care. He wants her, and he don't care what anybody else thinks. And he doesn't even want to know about her past because it doesn't mean anything to him, like that type of thing. She feels like he should know. So that's why she revealed it to him. And he's just like, yeah, all right. Okay, well, we all done stuff. So are we getting married Saturday or not? You know, which a lot of people find unbelievable. But when you're Muslim, it happens like that sometimes, you know, because, you know, if you're not going to end up messing up like Miriam did, sometimes you get married Saturday.
Quick marriages, married at first sight. All right, we have another comment from the audience I did want to read really quickly. Assalamu alaikum. Where can the feature titles be purchased? And of course, you can go over to aboutislam.com and check out all of the information about our panelists there. You can also register and sign up to follow and have updates as the conference is continuing on throughout the rest of the month of February.
Yeah, so, it's on the NBA Muslims conference page. You have access to all the authors and to all their books like that. And there's also a giveaway, so.
Yes. Don't forget about the giveaways because we have some good stuff out there. And including the romance books. Is that correct?
Yes, we have a romance panel giveaway. People who registered for conference update, they already have access to enter. and we're going to post it as well on our conference page and everything like that. So you have an opportunity to get a book from each one of the panel authors. So you have Her Justice 2 by Nasheed Jaxson. You have 7 Days of Love to Love by Seyna Rytes. You have Man in Chains 2 by Sara, and you have Building Broken Dreams by me. And the $10
Awesome.
Amazon gift card. So you can get yourself a little snack and sit down and get all of the
and
heat
read
and
and
passion
eat.
and everything.
Awesome. So make sure you do that. Go ahead over to About Islam and then NBA Muslims and get registered for the giveaway for the romance panel and all the panels. So there's some really good stuff. All right. So we want to thank our sponsors, and all the links are also in our Facebook comments on this live. We want to thank About Islam again. Thank you very much for hosting this. We want to give mad shout outs to our following other sponsors, of course, NBA Muslims, Muslim Girls Read Inc., Every Kind of Lady and her sisters' pages, Heart Women and Girls, Muslim Arc, Hope Hijab, African American Muslim Alliance of Tampa, Daybreak Press, and the Muslim Connection. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you to all of the viewers. Share this, do all that good stuff. Send it out on social media. Send it to a friend. Make sure you follow these authors. Make sure you follow them. Get their books. And thank you to our panelists for an excellent and enlightening. I was enlightened. I don't know about the rest of you. I was enlightened for this panel. I enjoyed myself. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Subhanaka Allahumma.